Please rise to salute our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Here.
Councilmembers Hudson.
Present.
Costa.
Here.
Del Risso.
Here.
D'Amato.
Here.
Sondemire.
Here.
Again.
Councilman Yasi.
Yeah, he said he stuck in traffic. On the way from work. Thank you. This is an official meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale on December 28, 2016. The date, time, and place of this meeting was faxed and mailed to all local news media posted here at Borough Hall. There is no early executive session. There is two non-agenda items. The first being a resolution to authorize mutual aid agreement with the Township of Wayne for animal control services. And the second non-agenda item is modifying 2011 and 12 old bond ordinance, reappropriating $58,000 in funds for other uses. Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Early, this afternoon we have the fire department asking for membership. It's in the book for another member.
Okay, so item 3 is,
It's in the non-agenda.
so the third item would be membership of Kenneth LeGrand. For the fire department. So 3 non-agenda, if anyone wishes to speak to those items. Before we do early public comment, we do have a presentation. Did you have that further down on the agenda? Yeah. What I'd like, Mr. Hagberg, our construction code officials here, is go right to that before we do early public comment. Someone may have an issue, wish to speak to that item after he does his presentation. So, Dan, how are you tonight? If you would come on up.
Very good, Mayor.
Good. Just so everyone knows, Dan, before we go on, I should have said earlier, so happy Thanksgiving to everyone. We won't see you again until after the holiday, as well as to everyone here today. Our construction office had issued an order of demolition on a property in town, and by our code, we need to do a public hearing. The owner was notified. I don't believe the owner is present this evening. Dan will present the facts, and then the governing body will make a determination if we wish to proceed, and then we shall go from there. So, Dan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll find before you a presentation of documents for the hearing that were scheduled tonight for 45 Buena Vista. The first document is the memo requesting the mayor for the hearings. The second document is the notice that was sent on November 6th to Mr. Michael Finkelstein, Stone Field Investments in Monroe, New York, citing the borough ordinance, a notice of unsafe structure, order to repair, remove, and a hearing notice. This procedure is being done according to Borough Ordinance 11-3, and that information was listed on the letter, which is document number 2. Document number 3 is the certification and signature of the certified letter that was sent to Mr. Finkelstein and his receipt of it. Number 4, what I have is, this is the assessment record for 45 Buena Vista. Once again, it verifies that Robert Pitt Drive 207, which is the mailing address for Stonefield Investment in Muncie, New York. It also says that the assessed property is assessed at $56,300. That's important because when we go to the next document, which is the borough ordinance, if you want to go through, I'll go through it really, not quick, but I'll go through it if you have any questions, okay? Under Borough Ordinance 11-3.2, a building or structure or any part shall be considered unsafe to life or health for the following conditions: the bad conditions of its walls, defective construction, lack of sanitary facilities, lack of ventilation or light, a dilapidated condition, its defects increasing the hazards of fire, and its disrepair. If we can, I'd like to, at this time, if the council could look at the photos. These were taken yesterday. and I'd just like to go through it quickly if we can.
And Mr. Hagburn, for the record, you took these pictures, right?
Actually, Robert Westdyke took them, one of my field inspectors with me, and I was also there with the borough engineer.
Okay, so you were at the site when the pictures were taken?
Yes, we were at the site. That
Okay.
was done yesterday, and we did confirm with the engineer, as you can see, that there's several structural issues. This being the detached garage, the back wall is missing, the side wall is missing, and the roof is collapsing. That's an imminent hazard as far as we're concerned. That's a side picture of it, and that needs to come down immediately. That's other pictures of that shed. That's from the side. That's myself, I think, standing there, and the engineer was in. That's the front of the house right now that you're looking at. There's, the doors are missing, the walls are stripped down, the roof is covered with a tarp, the siding on the house is literally coming off, it's uninhabitable. That's looking into the front door.
So this is two structures?
Pardon?
Two structures?
Well, there's actually 3 structures and an outdoor fireplace. We're recommending that all the buildings on the property be demolished. They're all in dilapidated, deteriorating condition, and we do have it documented. That's looking in the front door. That's looking in the lower level. That's also inside the house at the lower level. That's the floor joist where you can see up into the next floor from that lower level. That's the roof over the front door. You can see that it's covered with a lot of moss. It's just, you know, in total disrepair. It's an unsafe structure as it stands here for anybody to go in. This is a shed next to the house. Between the detached garage and the house, you can see where the roof is collapsed. That's a second detached shed that has to come down because it's literally falling down now. That's the fireplace. It's hard to see it right there, but the brick is collapsing and the chimney is collapsing. That's the exterior fireplace. It's like a outdoor fireplace area. That's just some of the debris outside. That's a distance from it. You can see there's approximately 35 tires that are stacked there. That's definitely a health issue. Although the mosquito season is coming to an end, that is just it's just an unsafe condition. It's also a potential fire hazard.
Is that in the rear of the building?
No, that's in the front of the house. That's looking at it from the driveway towards the main house.
So those tires are relatively new then, it looks like.
I think what happened was, to the best of my ability, and I can't say this, you know, as the property when it was taken over, the company, Stonefield Investment, their intent, because they spoke with me, was to clean up the property and flip it. That's what they wanted to do. That property was bought sight unseen. Once they started, and they had several dumpsters there, would emptied the garages, tried to clean up the property. They did remove vehicles from the property. There was an extensive cleanup, okay? But at some point, it's to my understanding, and I can't swear to it, that they no longer feel that there's any profit in a turnaround for this building. And they've stopped work on it. Work has not been done on that building for at least a month right now. And our attempts to contact them and the emails that were sent by both my office and the mayor to say, you started, what are you doing? And we haven't gotten a response or any indication of what they're doing. That's why we're initiating this unsafe structure. That's just a detached well. I couldn't tell at the time whether there's boards across that, but if there is a well underneath the boards, that needs to, when it gets demolished, needs to be filled in. That's it? Okay, so that gives you a pretty good idea of what the property is. So I believe that under, back to the ordinance, 11-3.2, A, 1 through 8, I think we meet the conditions of that. We did under 11.3.3, conditions for reconstruction. if you read through that paragraph, and I'll go through it, it may be restored to a safe condition, provided that the damage or cost of reconstruction is in excess of 50% of the value of the structure, shall be made to conform to the requirements of a new building. Okay, so in the engineer's opinion, in my opinion, with an assessed value of $56,300, I do not believe that house can be rebuilt for $44,000, $43,000. You know, just going by it. The buildings that are collapsing, they can be met with the other criteria on the borough ordinance. The second part of 11-3.4, if the construction official ascertains that the building or parts thereof are unsafe, he shall immediately make an examination and inspection. The building or structure or any parts is unsafe or dangerous to life, set forth in section 2.8, which we went over. He shall cause a written complaint to be served to the owner, which we did through the certified mail. It shall contain a notice of a hearing will be held before him at a place wherein fixed not less than 7 days, which it was sent on November 6th, and not more than 30. The hearing is now the 21st. We're within that time frame. And after serving the complaint, the owner and party shall have the right to file an answer and to appear in person or otherwise give testimony at the time and place fixed in the complaint, which the letter did state tonight at 7 o'clock before mayor and council, there would be a hearing. We have not gotten a response. I don't believe any representative of Stonefield is here, so we've met the criteria for 11-3.4. 11-3.5, after such hearing, the construction declares the building unsafe. It reads down, it says that alterations and improvements to the building or any part can be made at a cost not exceeding 80% of the value of the building at its time of condemnation. An order requiring the owner to repair, alter, or improve within 60 days. Once again, at $56,300, I do not believe that building can be restored for 80%. Okay, that can be done, which the ordinance requires a little further on. If such repairs, alterations, improvements of the building can only be made at a cost of exceeding 80% of the true value of the structure at the time of condemnation, the construction official shall order the owner and parties in interest to forthwith remove or demolish such building. The owner or parties in interest may at their option close and vacate the building, provided that no order has been made to remove or demolish the same. The 3.6, the construction shall post the main entrance of the building with the placard "Building Unsafe and Dangerous," and which I plan to do right after this hearing, if so approved by mayor and council. Number B will be the council by resolution shall author the construction official to employ the necessary labor and to procure and purchase such materials and appliances as be necessary to enforce his orders. Then the service of complaints, it says that it has to be served, this is 3.7, it has to be served by certified mail and such, and then a copy of such complaint order or posting shall be in a conspicuous place. An additional copy of such complaint order or statement shall be recorded with the Passaic County Clerk. Emergency work, in the case 3.8. In the case, there shall be, in the opinion of the construction official, immediate danger of falling or of a building or structure, okay, causing life or public safety. Such work shall be done at the owner's expense, and the amount shall become a lien upon the surface affected. The owner shall be entitled to a copy of the statement referred to in subject 3.6. My concern right now are those two accessory structures in the fireplace. They're falling down. The building is in total disrepair, but as long as we are moving forward, I believe that we can follow the procedure, go through the posting and with the borough attorney, and make sure that we cover all bases as far as proceeding with the demolition of the principal structure. 11.11. This is a vacant building, by the way. All written complaints or vacant buildings and structures shall be issued by the construction official and served by the complainant at least 7 days prior to the hearing, which it did. The construction official may cause the building to be removed or demolished, or the borough may contract for the removal or demolish thereof after advertisement and after receipt of bids thereof. That's basically what I'm at, where we're at with this. What I'm asking the mayor and council to consider tonight after viewing the pictures and reviewing the documents. I would like to move forward with, at the very least, demolishing the accessory structures that are collapsing and working with the borough attorney to proceed with demolition of the principal structure.
And the plan would be our Public Works Department doing that work, right?
Well, I once again, this is above my pay grade, but I would say that, Mr. Semero could see if that has to go out to bid. I don't know what the parameters for that.
The reason I
type of
ask
work.
is, I mean, they're capable of doing it, and it would obviously, there'd be no cost other than their normal labor, which is already budgeted for, so any additional bidding that out to someone. that
I would
wasn't a
yield
budgeted item,
to,
so-
I would yield to the borough attorney and follow whatever, procedure he says to do. The reason we're doing this is because you all know, we went through a similar piece of property in Bloomingdale where we posted it under the UCC. It went through the courts with the previous attorney, it went through the courts with the present attorney, it went all the way to the appellate division, and the appellate division reduced the fines and penalties significantly and said that it was only a one-day event. We still have this ordinance, which isn't under the UCC, but it is a borough ordinance, which gives the mayor and council and the borough attorney the direction to accomplish this.
Well, again, something has to be done, certainly.
Yeah, I think, Mayor, if the DPW were to do that, and Mr. Hagberg, correct me if I'm wrong, the borough would take out a demolition permit, right? To do that work, and we'd have to quantify or keep track of the records.
Yeah, what I would do is, I would have to give a report, as per the ordinance, as to what the estimated cost was gonna be, because you can't, I've gotta give you an idea of what this is gonna cost, so that, the borough's gonna incur an
Well,
expense.
depending on the governing body's direction, that's easy to do. Between
No.
myself, you,
Yes.
and our public works superintendent, we calculate the labor and how many men and how many days.
Yeah.
Sure that it
They've done similar
meets-
work before,
That would be Mr. Cimaro's call.
If I could just go back, one issue, one of the requirements are sanitary facilities. Is there a septic system that was there?
There is a septic system there. I don't know, to be honest with you, I didn't have the proper attire on, and I wouldn't
Right.
go into that building without some type of protection.
Right.
It's, if there is a sanitary system there, that would also, that
Yeah.
would be, collapsed and, caved in, a well would be caved in. Any tank removal or anything like that would not be the borough's responsibility,
Right.
nor would, it would be whoever. And then, at that point, it would become a lien on the property.
Now, what about the main house? You're just saying, your bigger concerns are the three-out structure.
Well, the three-out structures are collapsing.
Right.
So under the unsafe condition, okay, it's an imminent of collapse. I do not believe that the building can be rebuilt under the parameters of the ordinance for less than 80%.
Right.
And we can order it demolished.
All four of them.
Well, I can order it as an unsafe structure immediately because it's a safety issue. Those three buildings, if they got knocked down and we proceeded, I would talk to the borough attorney and see what the timeline would be for, taking down the main building. It may be advantageous to just take them all down.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Why would we just take down the three and leave the other unsafe
As
structures?
long as
We
nobody
may-
gets hurt, that's the danger. That main building, I'm not gonna say it's safe, but it's not in that condition. That is in collapse and failure. This building, I could probably have the engineer go in there and, we may find that, it wouldn't surprise me if it was structurally unsound.
So we can take action, including that fourth the main structure, if it meets the criteria based on Dan and our engineers' unsafe structure.
Right.
Okay.
It's not secure. Right, the
Pardon?
house is not secure. Any kid can go in there. There's no front door.
Anybody can go on that property in every building as it stands right now. So yes, it is a burden. The only concern I would have, and I would go to Fred for that, you know, once I bring this to the mayor and council, now you're in the loop with me. You know, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Dan, we talked about health hazards, what, other than the tires and there's probably water inside the tires, excuse me, what other health hazards that you would not go in there because of the structure?
Well, I would go in there only because that picture that you're seeing there's probably mold, there could be animals, there could be anything in that house. That house has been vacant for,
Then I have concerns with our DPW guys going there without the proper protection.
Well, yeah, they were-
Respirators.
they would wear the proper
I'm not
protection.
talking a dust mask either.
Yeah. No, they would,
High-neck suits, I mean, you gotta know how to handle that stuff if somebody gets,
well, we'd have them review it. I mean, if it came back that they didn't want to do the main structure, we'd have to bid it, but it's a budgeted item, that's not budgeted for.
I understand it, but I don't think they have the knowledge if it's safe
Well, again, that,
for health. hazards.
Asbestos and
Right.
asbestos.
I don't know what's in the building.
Right.
I have not, I've been in that front step there, but like I say, I don't even know if the steps are secure. You know, there's every indication that that house is not as bad as the garage is, but it's well on its way.
Those paint cans on the,
There's all kinds of stuff, there's all kinds of stuff in that house. I don't know, they cleaned the exterior of the house. I do not believe that the investment company actually went in the house and started to clean it. I think at some point they said, you know, where are we going with this?
all right. Again, it's up to the governing body. I would ask that we have Dan authorize the 3 out structures to be removed and authorize the main structure based on safety, health conditions. Can our DPW do it? And then I'll report back to you if there's any sort of roadblock on that.
And if I may, Mr. Hagberg,
Yes, sir.
let's try to frame now what would we be asking the governing body to do. Would it be correct, one part of the motion, to declare that based on the testimony that the building is unsafe and dangerous, we should post a sign?
That I'm going to do.
Okay.
I'm going to do. That will satisfy the requirement of the one section.
Right.
We will notify the county clerk. I would assume that they would get, you know, that notice as well.
Okay.
And then at that point, you know, we can proceed, because there is no time limit. This is the hearing. This was the point of the defendant, for lack of a better term, or the property owner to come here and say, hey, I'm gonna, so without a response and with no response that we've tried to make.
Right. And then the other part, section 11-3.5, with respect to order to repair or remove, it says, you know, after the hearing, if there's an order to repair, alter or improve, or tear down the building, then we need to get the 80% cost estimate and take the steps. And it looks as though, unless it's imminent, that we would serve an order on the property owner and tell them, you have 60 days to tear down the structure, otherwise we're gonna take that action. I mean, is that the way you read it as well? 'Cause that's the way I see it,
Yeah,
unless
that's
it's
the
imminent.
best I can determine it. Like I
Right.
say, we've normally gone through UCC
Yeah.
procedures with this. This is the first time I'm doing it with a borough ordinance. But I would believe, unless it's an imminent hazard, the other thing I would like to do is try to convince our engineer if he could take a closer look to see if the building's unsafe, the primary building now, then I think under the emergency conditions that are listed in .7, I think it was, is, you know, then we could proceed immediately.
But so if we could proceed immediately, isn't there still a provision? I understand the emergency, the safety. No, I guess they have the right to be here and hear that. To tell them the decision that was made this evening, or that was their obligation to be here?
Yeah, I think that's their
I understand
obligation. I think from everything I've heard in the ordinance, which I think is a really good, you know, set of procedures, because there's the opportunity of notice and a hearing, testimony's been provided to the governing body. So, one, you would consider just to affirm Mr. Hagburn's statement that, based on the testimony, the building is unsafe and dangerous, and the use and occupancy of the building should be prohibited and unlawful. And then two, that you're issuing an order for repair or removal pursuant to the applicable section of the code, which says you have 60 days. And then in the alternative, that in the event that the borough engineer were to certify that the structure is one that could immediately
Right.
be a danger, then there wouldn't be any further hearings. But based on a report by the engineer, that would signal to Mr. Hagburn that based on this decision, he would be authorized to take immediate action.
We already have that authority on the 3 out structures, correct?
Yes,
Based on
the
his
three,
engineer's
the
inspected
three out
engineers.
structures are in failure.
That's unsafe, that's been
Right, I think we
documented.
would want the engineer to just put a short report in the file for those, because that's
Okay.
immediate, and that
Yeah.
just protects
Right.
the work that you've done. It supports what you
Okay.
Right, so I would
Okay.
ask that the motion can be considered as follows, that the governing body direct the 3 out structures to be removed based on the immediate danger, and to have our engineer determine the status of the main structure, and if it's the same condition, to proceed there as well, with all the proper studies and protections and safety issues and all of that being performed, obviously. And if our DPW can't do it, then it would have to come back to the governing body, because it would be an expenditure. If our engineer feels the main structure is not unsafe or immediate danger.
It has to be an imminent hazard.
Right, if he feels it's not, then we have to notice in 60 days of repair, replace, all what the code says to the owner. And then we could deal with it.
Right, all the other steps would have to be
Right.
taken.
Anyone have comment?
Is the main house wide open?
Yes,
So that's the one you would put the sticker on?
yes,
Sticker
that'll be
something?
done tomorrow.
What will be done to seal the building up so nobody can access it?
That's a good question. I can speak with DPW and they can, they can cover the front door. The problem is the house itself is, you're gonna, if I can get the engineer to go out there and say, hey, this thing is falling down. I mean, there's a couple doors. Can it be secured? Most likely. Anything can be secured.
And just like Mike said, I'm worried about kids getting in there.
On
I'm sure they've been in there already.
on the same note, what about that well sitting there with the top, isn't that an invitation for kids too? I mean,
Well, it is covered at the present, and like I say, until that's taken off, and we can see, we had a similar situation years ago next to the firehouse. Remember the house that got torn down? There was a well that was about 60 feet deep, and I don't think it's used, but yeah, it's a potential hazard, and Board of Health state regulations say that wells that are not, in operation or being used have to be closed. So, and that's really not a difficult thing, that's just filled with stone. In fact, they did it right next to the building department.
But that wasn't part of any of this testimony. We were just dealing with the structure, so how do we deal, that would have to come back to this again?
Yeah, I think that might be,
Yeah, I can
Better
talk
for
to
them
the
to-
Board of
Yeah,
Health and
right.
see if that, I don't even know if it's a well, like I said,
That could just be a decorative piece, that doesn't mean
it
that
could be,
they're actual
until
wells.
those
right.
boards are pulled
Right,
up.
we're just dealing with the
that health
structures right now.
officer would have to get out.
Have the health officer deal with septic and wells, so we get an
Okay.
idea of how to deal with that
Yeah.
next.
And I'll talk to the engineer, and I'll post it in the morning, and I'll talk to
Okay.
Al about securing the building.
Okay.
Right.
Just
And
apply
I
with-
think, Mayor, if this motion goes forward, we would prepare an order, even though it has 30 days, it'll also say, but in the meantime, if the engineer certifies that it's of imminent
Right.
date, it's gonna be, but we'll put them on notice now, the property owner,
Okay.
to that effect.
Any other comment? So again, I'd ask the motion to read, as I stated earlier, that we direct Dan Hagbert to proceed with the order of the 3 outbuilding demolition and do a review with our engineer on the main structure for its status, as well as the Board of Health on the septic and well. All right, anyone make that motion?
So moved.
second.
I'm sorry, you want a resolution?
Should that be a resolution?
Well, we can ultimately memorialize it in a resolution, sure. It might be, it's actually a good idea,
Correct.
because we have a
So
record.
that'll be
yeah.
11.8 now.
Okay, 11.8. And I'm sorry, who moved that?
Me.
Dawn, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I think, Mayor, when we memorialize the resolution, I can draft it to indicate that there was, pursuant to 11-3 of the Borough Code,
Right.
the steps that Mr. Hagburn has laid out, the evidence that he presented, the reasons for his recommendation, and that also, before you call the roll, if you could just, for the record, ask if anyone's here with respect to this particular
Correct.
property. I think
Okay.
I'll indicate that as well. that
There
there's a hearing.
there was a motion by Costa, seconded, Dawn, and then seconded by Tony. I'd like to state on the public record, is there anyone here representing Stonefield Investments regarding tonight's hearing?
Property 45.
Property 45 Buena Vista Way, Bloomingdale, New Jersey. Seeing no one, I'd ask for a roll call, please.
Councilmembers Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasi.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Happy Thanksgiving.
We'll work with DPW
Thanks,
together
Dan.
and see where we're going to go. Okay. Thanks so much, Dan.
I think it's too much.
What?
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to go back to early public comment. I need a motion to open early public comment. Who makes that motion? D'Amato and Yasny. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone here wishing to speak to an agenda item, please come on up and state your name for the record. And if anyone has a non-agenda item, I'd be happy to entertain that too. Mr. Struble. That would be you, that's why I said it, yep.
I don't understand all of
That's why I'm calling you up. How are you?
like to be addressed.
You just state your name and address for the record.
David Strobel,
And your address for the record.
15 Mary Street.
Okay. If I may, because I can give the background for the council, then the floor will be yours. I believe you're here because of the roadway and the property.
Correct.
Okay. Back in 2013, Mr. Struble had contacted me with this issue. And there's a few of these kind of weird situations in town where it's like land in limbo. There's no deeded owner to it. It's a dirt road, there's a couple of them, right? So Mr. Struble bought the house, the old Kochka house, in the back of Mary Street, which is which is actually on Mary Street, right? It's actually, the sign says Struble Lane,
Dirt
so.
road at the end of Mary Street.
Right.
Costco Lane.
Kochka Lane, now it's Struble Lane.
Costco Lane.
Now it's
I
Struble
now
Lane.
named it Struble Lane so that people can find it.
So it's a dirt road. I had other neighbors contact me over the course of a number of years. We actually, because of this limbo situation, there was a very large dangerous tree we did take care of just from public health and safety issue. But Mr. Struble has come and say, who owns this property and where is it? Obviously, Mr. Struble thinks the town should, and we should make a lovely paved road. But the position of the borough is that we do not own it. And I had DMC surveyor, which I've given you a copy of that letter back in
Correct.
2013, do the whole history on this property. And I think I even shared it
You
with
did.
you way back when.
I do remember.
So, at the request, DMC has researched the lands related to 15 Mary Street in an attempt to resolve the ownership of the tract land that I've referred to as the dirt road off Mary, listed below. So it goes back to 1959, when the Charles Bob Corporation owned it, and it's really quite complicated. But the bottom line is, after the subdivision of Lot 605 and Block 22 was transferred to Robert S. Kochka and Jean Kochka in conveyance November 1999, the conveyance did not provide any written description, only a reference to the recently filed subdivision. There was no reference to the condition of the resolution that 605 was to be merged with the adjoining lot owned by the applicant. So in 2004, Kochka sold the lot to Dave Struble and Francis Struble in conveyance record 2004. In deed book page, blah, blah, blah. The written description and survey related to this conveyance references the property as appears in the filed map and does not include any reference to the condition of 1998 resolution. When the subdivision was originally done, it referenced this dirt road, but it never followed the title when it went to the filings, and that's why Mr. Struble buys the house and has no idea that this was the history on that road.
if you read the last
So,
statement on that.
right, so does not include reference to the condition, including the lands of Block 20 and 22. The only recommended solution to this would be for the Borough of Bloomingdale to transfer title of these lands to Dave and Francis Struble, as this was the original intent of the resolution in 1998. Should Struble refuse these lands, the only recourse is for the borough to retain title, as these lands cannot support any additional buildings, and a new survey with access easements needs to be prepared. So that's from our surveyor back then, saying it's one of these in limbo pieces. You know, I explained that to Dave. Dave got quiet about it. I got quiet about it. It's like, we don't plow it. We pick up the garbage, right? You bring the garbage out
No,
to
I
the end.
get garbage, I
You
get-
plow it,
get
right?
my mail out there.
It's been that way for 100 years.
Well, I don't know if it's been that way.
Well, because Kochka originally owned that land. I go further
Right.
back, Charles Bob Corporation owned
Right.
it. St. Robert Kochka bought it in 59. You know, so there's the whole history of it. And somehow it fell off the radar, that piece, the road. It's not buildable, there's no lots, it's just, and it access, which is interesting. Vreeland Ave, whose frontage is Vreeland Ave, but they don't have driveways and actual frontage, use this road to access the rear of their homes. So it's just easier, right?
All 5 people that live on.
Mhm. This
all
dirt
5
road.
people have to drive on the dirt road to get to their garage.
Right. But do any have driveways on Vreeland?
Well, they have parking.
Right, exactly.
Some of them.
Right, because their frontage is really Vreeland.
1, 2, 2.
Right. So that's where we are. The borough's position, you know, again, when I presented it, it was, well, Dave, on the record, the history shows you really own it, but on paper right now, he doesn't. So we can either say, Dave, it's yours, and I know he doesn't want it, and we can either leave it in limbo, or we assume it, but to the council, we assume it. You're now assuming drainage, curbs, paving, you now own this. And like I said, there's more than one in Bloomingdale, and that's kind of where this is. So in your heart of hearts, you don't want to own it. You would love the borough to just become the owner. Right. And if the borough became the owner, there's standards we need to meet, such as paving and all that good stuff. So that's where we are. There's one like Glade Road, very similar. Babcock Lane, another one. The Babcock Lane, after its research, was a borough road. Remember, for those who somewhere in here, was Hemlock. Remember Hemlock off Reland? That was intended to cut through to Highland? And we had the families come in, we did that search, that was the borough road, so we ended up paving it, fixing it. So, they're not gonna make a decision tonight, but that's in front of the
No,
council.
I understand.
And I never brought it to the council because it was like, here, Dave, here's the info, and it kinda just got quiet again, because I think being quiet on it is a smart thing to do. Because the council could say, if we were forced to make a decision, I don't think they're gonna assume a $100,000 bill for paving when it's not ours. So, I don't know. I don't know if you have anything to add. Was I fair in the description?
No, I just would, anything would help. I have a 40-foot right-of-way, but the road doesn't need to be 40 feet wide, you know, to get to my house.
Right.
On my property deed, it's a 40-foot right-of-way. But it's not a problem for me to go out and get my mail, it's not a problem for me to go out and take my garbage out, it's not a problem for me to walk a snow blower 300 feet at this age, but pretty soon I won't be able to do that.
And let me ask you, I'm just curious. All the people who live on Vreeland, the 5 homes who utilize this, drive on it, park on it, you know, use it as their entrance to their homes. What do they think about it? I've never got a call from one of them saying, hey, why don't you pave my road? Like,
Well, the only one that I've had contact with is when a tree fell
Right,
on a person's property and he thought it was my property.
absolutely.
My
Right.
tree.
Right.
But anyway, he's very concerned because he's gonna sell his house soon.
Sure.
So he's on a dirt road.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be an issue for him for mortgage purposes because he doesn't have access in his title to that right away.
Mr.
When I
Stur,
bought it, I knew nothing more than.
Having
dirt
access on a
road.
right of way.
I'm all to myself back here on the dirt road, that's fine with me, Bob. And I didn't know who owned the dirt road, I just knew I had a right of way.
Right.
Mr. Struble, does anyone help you with plowing or clearing,
Um,
even though that they use that road?
Well, the one person that lives next to me is, he and he doesn't have any use of his legs from his waist down. So he doesn't, but he parks up in the top. They park up on the top. The one that's out at the end of the street, they actually face Mary Street. He has a little blower that he does. And the guy that's gonna move, he has a blower, and I have a blower. So usually it was me, because I was retired. So I did the whole thing. But then my big snow blower blew up and cost. So
It's a big area, too.
it's 300 feet,
It's a real big area.
every bit of 300. You should take a ride up there just to see where.
I know it well. I mean, the governing body can decide. I mean, we could either, I know the residents would love the borough to become the owner and deal with the paving and the roads, but then you set
Yeah,
precedent
I'm not looking for an answer.
with others. No, you're not gonna get an answer.
And I just want to thank
Maybe
you
pave
guys
it,
for
plow it.
what you have done for our town. You know, I see all the paving going on, and the paving going on, and the paving going on, and the ball field parking lot being paved. And it's just, I gotta say something, sooner or later. Because sooner or later, I'm gonna have to go to the house. And I'm gonna have a problem probably getting rid of it. Because who wants to go do what I'm doing?
Right. And I'm sure, I mean, don't have to answer the question, but you probably didn't have a mortgage, right?
No, I bought it
Right.
out there.
So there was no mortgage doing searches that would
So
have
I had no.
created the red
search, I
flag
had no-
to say, what's this road? Where's your access, so we'll talk about it, the council will talk about
Utilities on that road?
Pardon?
Utilities?
it. Sewer, water, you get it from the backside.
I
right?
have,
I feel like as
water
neighbors should take advantage of
and sewer
You think?
coming
That's
up
why I
the
asked that
right
question.
away from a house on Warren Street.
Warren.
And gas coming all the way in that dirt road.
Off Reeland, probably.
I think everybody would be off of real and off of Mary, probably.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, it didn't become an issue, but I understand Dave's
Okay.
concern as time goes on. Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Could there not, see, the alternative to the borough getting involved, and what I hear, and I remember you showing me this, we went up to your office after a meeting and even looked at it, to have an often under these situations, when it's not the borough, the residents that are impacted, they enter into an agreement amongst themselves to share the cost, the risk of the
I've
maintenance.
already talked to
Yeah.
Pablo. They're not interested.
exactly.
Well, they're not interested, but
However-
they may not have a choice because they need that access. So, I feel like,
What, John?
Well, again, nobody has, sold a house. The first person to sell a house,
is good,
With
the
a
mortgage
mortgage-
company's gonna come back and say,
Right.
we need
we're not lending you
something
money until you have
memorialized
right to
for
access
you
this
to
house.
do that.
Unless they have the Breland Ave frontage, the bank may not care, that's their access. That's also how this
There's
could go under the
crazy
radar.
right-of-way, 25-foot right-of-way, between two of those houses on Greeley, and I come down.
Does everyone know where this is to get a visual? Like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Here's Reeland Ave, here's Mary, and then there's that dirt road right off Mary. And Dave's, this is Dave here.
I've never been
This
down
whole
there.
piece here, which is 0.83 of an acre. But they have, their addresses are Reeland Ave.
But they still,
1, 2, 3, 4. These are Warren, but all of them use back entrances.
they couldn't come in the other way, their
They,
driveways.
could every home on Breland, they can access the front of their homes, correct? Or not, they don't all have garage and driveways?
No, the one guy, Al, sandwich guy.
Right,
you met Al.
yep,
He does not have any access off of Greeley.
right. So technically, he could park on Breland Ave and go to his front door, but in the winter, he'd have a problem.
The end house, which actually faces Mary, they have to use Third Road to get into their house. It's a very different situation.
So, again, what we'll do, I think on that council, we'll go look at it and, see if there's anything we're willing to do. I mean, the one thing you could do is, but again, you're setting precedent, is just pave it. I mean, plow it. The town wants to consider sending DPW just to plow it. You know, that would be a help, correct?
Done, if you-
To some degree, yeah.
You have to put curbs.
No, you don't have to do curbs, say you could do it to the right standard. Remember, you're not, when you're replacing what's there,
You can, for an example.
but it's a full rebuild, because there's nothing there, you have to build a base, even if you didn't do curbs, it's $100,000 paving job.
Sure.
Because there's no base, there's not even mill to get your base back to pave like we do most of our road. So,
No. Maybe it's an item for executive session, not about this property, about the impact that they have to the borough, because there's some options. Maybe we could just discuss.
Well, thanks for hearing.
yeah, no, and thanks for coming,
And you guys are doing a great job.
I appreciate that,
Yeah.
it's nice to hear too.
I know that I can see things going on in town that I've been here for 40-some years, not as a home,
Okay.
a business.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
We will-
Thank you.
Either way, I'll call you once we come to conclusion, Dave.
All right?
I said I'll touch base with you in a couple weeks when we,
Okay.
to let you know where we're going. Thank you. Here's my folder, all the roads. Oh, yeah. Yep. To close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Reports, Jane, Bree,
Just,
anything?
The Toaster Tots program is ongoing, and I think the last day for pickup is November 27th. Take it to the train in Butler on the 2nd. So the box is right upstairs. So I don't have
Good.
That's it.
Do you report on the election on the record, or?
No, I did not get the certificate.
Right. Well, I can-
We know what.
Yeah, I congratulate John and Ray on their election victory, so job well done. Usually Jane reports this, why I asked.
Yeah, I just waited for that, but.
Thank you. Fred, do you have anything?
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank
Great.
you.
Any council member have anything?
Just, we're still working on the 100th anniversary. We're working really hard on the 100th anniversary book.
Absolutely.
We've been meeting pretty much every 2 weeks, going through page by page and getting different ideas and write-ups. We're still missing some write-ups from certain organizations, which we're trying to get shortly.
The mayor being one of them.
The mayor being one of them. I didn't want to say that, but since you brought it up.
I'll give you 6, just
One
not
thing
my
we
own.
are doing some research, we found 2 gentlemen in town that were born here, and they're called the elders of the town, all right? We're gonna interview these 2 people and just get their perspective where it was when they started to where we are today. And we're still looking if there's anybody else that has been here for a long time. Mr. Shoulder was born on Orchard Street in a house down there by Delasier Field, so he's really interesting to talk to. He has a lot of history of the lower end of town, including Delasier Field. And we also found Mr. Crum, Scott Crum's dad, was also born here, and he's in his 80s, let's just say that. I'm not sure exactly what his age is, but we're going to interview him and speak to him. And we have a guy on Cedar Street that wasn't born here, but he's been here since, I think only 61 years he's been in town. I think it's your neighbor across the street, Mr. Adado. Right? So I've spoken to his daughter. He doesn't know that we know. All right, so don't know. But anyway, it's really interesting to find out what's going on from sitting back and listening to these people talk. Bill's on a committee, and we have our conversations during our book meetings. And sometimes, you're looking at old pictures of where they were and where they are today. It's just real interesting. I find it very interesting. So that's where we are with the book. And we're doing well.
Any other reports? Good? Okay. John, you're going to move on to
Yeah.
consent agenda?
Yeah, moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt, which would be resolutions 11.9 through 14? Who makes that motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please. I'm sorry, second was Tony.
Councilmembers D'Amato. Yes. Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasi. Costa.
Yes.
Okay, pending items. The first, I'm sorry? Good. Pending items, second and final reading, ordinance 21, 2017, Cablevision franchise renewal. Public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News, copies available to the public, that a motion may be made and be read by title.
And who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that an ordinance granting municipal consent for the operation of a cable television system within the Borough of Bloomingdale, New Jersey, to CSC TKR LLC, doing business as Cablevision of Raritan Valley.
And I need a motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to 2117 Cablevision renewal, please come on up. Seeing no one, motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And who moves to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Just one brief thing. I thank Councilman D'Amato for being part of the committee. We sat with Cablevision. We've maximized everything we can maximize, our pay grant of $1,000 a year, our licensing fee and all of that. But the one thing we did do, we ended up getting additional Wi-Fi, no charge for the senior center. And we found that the old contract, it was interesting, was worded that it provided television services in any borough building, all of them, okay? And most contracts refer to the word basic cable, and ours just said TV. So we were paying for a couple locations. Long story short, I peeled it, put a spreadsheet together, sent it off, and as a matter of fact, at the conference, I ran into the main regional manager, and she said, I thought it was only like $4,000 or $5,000 they owe. She said it's could be upwards of $14,000 credit. So if that occurs, I will just ask them to credit our billing. With our phone change we're doing, we're going to drop about 15 grand a year in our overall phone charges. So we can have a $25,000 reduction in our total phone service, the TV service next year. I'll just have them credit, but no sense getting us a refund, just reduce our bill. So I'll let you know once I have the number, because this renewal is actually what, Jane, February, was it?
Yes.
So, yeah, anyway, so we did well. And it's not much you could do, but we did well. All right, so can I have a roll call, please?
And just for the record, Councilman Gilbert stepped forward.
Yes. Thank you.
Councilmembers Hudson.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
Tomato.
Okay, the next, the second final reading for 2017, refunding of bonds, $1.615,000. Public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News, copies available to the public, so the motion may be made and read by title.
And who makes that motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Refunding bond ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale and the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, providing for the refunding of all or a portion of its outstanding 2008 general improvement bonds and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $1,615,000 aggregate principal amount of general obligation refunding bonds of the borough to effect such refunding and appropriating the proceeds therefore.
Thank you, Jane. Motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to 2017? Seeing no one, motion to close.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
And who moves to adopt?
John, before you go there,
Well, let's get the motion, then we can have discussion. Who moves to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes.
Yeah, this was 1.5 million. How did we get to 1.6?
I don't have all the details that we introduced it. You weren't here last meeting today, but it's what we reviewed. The savings is approximately $50,000 in interest over the 5 remaining years. This is the debt that had the call feature on it. Simply what we're doing is refinancing our debt, lowering our interest rate by a couple points.
Borrowing an extra 150,000.
No, we're not. We're not increasing our debt.
No, see, in the second paragraph, it says it's $1.5 million bond that we're refinancing. Is the refinance fee $115,000?
No, the total savings was about $90,000. The cost of refinance is about $30,000. Our net is about a $60,000 savings. Yeah.
You said the numbers, no matter.
I don't know, Ray. I mean, it's exactly what came from bond council. We're not increasing debt. We're refinancing permanent debt that had the call feature. 5 years remaining. I'm unprepared to answer your question because I had it last meeting on the introduction with the spreadsheet that we reviewed with you and Rich.
This is nothing simple.
Yeah, we did not add new debt at all. We did refinancing what we, what,
That it's doing 1.55.
again, I'd have to,
Just making it higher just to make sure.
again, the bottom line is what we reviewed, and the savings on interest is, you know, substantial.
Because we have to pay the finance charge and then save the money later.
Yeah, right, we got to pay to finance it, but it's not, again, I don't have my spreadsheet in front of me,
Right,
but
no, I'm just-
it's exactly what we reviewed, so. We're not increasing debt.
I like table. I don't get it.
You have to, I can,
I don't get it.
you know what, why don't we table it, and then we'll take a break, and I'll call finance, or I'll get my folders and answer your question, okay? So we had a motion on table. I need, do we need a motion to table? All right. Is there a second on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll come back. We'll take a break after we finish the agenda and come back before we go to executive session on that. Okay? And I'll get your answers. Okay, new business. I need resolution 11.15, payment of the bills. Who makes that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I need 11.1.6, award professional service contract to Phoenix Advisors for continued disclosure services. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sondermeyer.
Yes.
Yasti. Costa.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Next is 11.17, award of professional service contract to Community Grants and Planning as our affordable housing agent.
No.
Remember, we awarded them last year. They administered our affordable housing, particularly the trust fund that we utilized from Avalon Bay. We had 2 successful projects completed. We have about $70,000 left in the trust fund, which will pay their service fee for the year. Plus, we're hoping to do 2 or 3 more projects out of the trust fund, which they will administer as well. That's what they do. So, I'm sorry, did I have a motion on that? Could I have a motion?
I'm going to tell you.
A motion on that, please?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Yasti.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sondermeyer.
Yes.
Should be last. So, yeah,
I'm just,
not sure.
yeah, 9 is intended for,
Check insurance.
yeah, right. D is intended for the refunding bond ordinance, so I don't think that was supposed to be there. Okay, so we'll go to E, discussion and any action in regards to 2017 open space application. Just information, we have been awarded $100,000 for the restoration of the DeLazier Field basketball court. Remember, we submitted 2 applications, one for DeLazier, one for Bogue, and we were awarded DeLazier. So, in the new year, we'll fund it, you know, and begin that project. That's all. Everyone should know about that. CJ, I don't have in the book for you, veteran exemption. I'm just following the book. I don't see the veteran exemption. So we don't need to do that?
You don't need to do
Right.
that, we did that.
Right, that's why I was probably, yeah. So item F was a veteran's tax exemption, which was under the consent agenda. So we're on G. I need a resolution for 11.18, transfer resolution. Who makes that motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Costa.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sondermeyer.
Yes.
Yasti. I'm sorry?
The breathing apparatus proposal? These are the vehicles. Before the vehicle.
Yeah.
Give me the ransom plan.
It's right after the bills.
No, I know, I'm just making sure I got everything. Okay, the next item is 11.19, an award of contract for fire department self-contained breathing apparatus. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Hudson and Yazdi. Any discussion? I am extremely pleased to report that we, last meeting, authorized to join the Houston Galveston Area Council Co-op. All right, there was no fee to join it. The reason we joined it is, you know, obviously we invested in the self-contained breathing apparatus for our fire department. Our fire department found this co-op, because they service quite a bit of fire departments, which came in excess of $70,000 less than state contract. So we did quite well on our purchase of this apparatus, which is costly, to the tune of, which was funded in our capital this year, $280 some odd $1,000 for the net. I don't see if it's the full number, but yeah, that's fine. So anyway, that's what we're doing tonight, is finally getting this off the ground. We applied for a grant, we were unsuccessful for a federal grant. We'll try again next year for communications with that federal program, and hopefully we'll have success for that. So again, this is important. We get a new breathing apparatus for our men and women who serve the borough so well, and this cost savings was astronomical. So I thank the department for bringing that forward too. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Demoto.
You can recuse. Abstain.
Better to abstain. I don't believe you would necessarily have a conflict under the circumstances.
Della Ripa.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next item is a motion to approve final payment for 30 Victor Street, which was on the bills list, though, was it not? You know, we'll do a motion just for the record, but I believe it was part of the bills list. This was part of our Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We've completed a second project for the year of 30 Victor Street, and we are authorizing payment, which has been inspected and approved, to the contractor in the amount of $15,400. Remember, this becomes a mortgage on the home, and the rules are if they sell, they have to redeem, and all of that. So we're paying Severe Structures LLC, $15,400, again, out of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which was established by the Avalon Bay Affordable Housing Contribution. Did I get a motion? I apologize.
No.
Can I have a motion on that, please?
Second?
Any further discussion? Again, just looking forward to doing at least 2 or 3 more additional in 2018. Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Della Ripa.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
Demoto.
Okay, thank you. And then the last item of new business is 11.20, award contract for fire department vehicles. First, let me ask for a motion. A little bit of discussion. We had in this year's capital the purchase of one vehicle for the fire chief. The chief's vehicle is old. The assistant chief's vehicle is even older. Although we don't get rid of them, we recycle them into construction, and our construction department will use these vehicles because it's nice to have the SUVs in the wintertime. As we serve Kinnelon, particularly helps there. Our intention was to do one vehicle in 2017. And then in 2018, do the assistant chief's vehicle. But due to the immense savings on the self-contained breathing apparatus, because it was the same funding source in our bond, we are doing the 2 vehicles. And Councilman Yazzie, you were not here at the last meeting when I got authorization to proceed that way. So that's why it's in front of us. And so next year we will not be funding that vehicle. So we're doing it here. And as a result of the substantial savings in the breathing apparatus. So, is there any further comment? Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hudson.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yossi.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato. Del Rippe.
Yes.
My mic? No. My mic is.
We'll go back to both. Yeah, just a second. I'll just turn off on that one. That's fine, I'll hold that there. Okay, there was 3 non-agenda items. The first is I need a motion to enter into a mutual aid agreement with the Township of Wayne for Bloomingdale to provide after-hour emergency ACO services. How this works is they are in the midst of change in their department and reached out to us to see if we can cover if needed. It's only if needed. And our ACO would be paid an $80 flat fee just to be on call from 4:30 to 8:30 in the evening. And then it would be based on the Wayne's contract's overtime rate for a call out, a 3-hour minimum. So I will memorialize the contract and have Fred, review it. But I needed to get this on because we're running out of meetings and there's a chance we may be called before the end of the year. We're just helping Wayne out by doing this and covering our costs and paying our staff to give that coverage. So I need a motion to approve this mutual aid agreement with Wayne. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Repeat that motion.
I'm sorry, Res 21.
Councilmember Sondemire.
Yes.
Yossi.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Del Rippe.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The second item was the resolution reappropriating $58,750 excess bond proceeds from various bond ordinances to provide various improvements to the borough. As you know, we canceled early in the year quite a bit of permanently funded monies, but there was not much left, but enough here to do the following. We're amending 3 old bonds, projects completed. One was Reland Ave paving, one was the Walter T. Bergen Light project, and the third was another road project. But to the amount of $58,750, and we're reappropriating that for the following. The anniversary committee was looking at inquiring about the renting of an ice skating rink to have various events in the winter. And it turns out that the cost of rent is as much as purchasing. So we will be purchasing an ice skating rink, which is a non-ice ice skating rink. So you don't have to rely on temperatures, which will then become an annual event in the borough. We'll have it at Sloan Park this season, and then we will have it at future seasons, possibly at the Leisure Fields basketball court. But that is one. And 2 is the retaining wall at DPW that's failing, and I'm asking that we reappropriate this total amount to cover those 2 expenses. And by doing by resolution, funds will be available immediately, so the anniversary committee can proceed and work on that to get that in for the February event. So that is what we're doing here, and I need a motion for resolution 2017-11.22. And who makes that motion?
So moved.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Yossi.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Del Rippe.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Okay. And then there was one other item, which is the approval. I need a motion to approve Kenneth LeGrand Jr. To our fire department. And who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Other than thanking Kenneth for stepping up and serving our fine department. All in favor, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. At this time, I'd ask for a motion for late public comment.
So moved.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak? Silence. Can I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Before we go to executive session, we will take a 5-minute recess. I will get the answers on the refunding bond that Councilman Yazdi had. We'll resume act on that and then go to exec. So we will take at 8:19, a 5-minute recess. We had tabled 2 items. The first was the second and final reading on a refunding bond ordinance. So we had the motion for adoption, correct? Already on the table? We don't have to go through the whole thing again. So there was a motion on the table to adopt it. Councilman Yazdi, who was not here on introduction, had questions, and let me apologize for not having the answer off the top of my head because I haven't looked at it in 4 to 6 weeks since we introduced. The total amount of refinancing debt is $1,500,000 in general obligations, $30,000 utilities. So this is debt that we're paying every year that has a call feature. We can refinance it, and it's only if it's, you save a certain amount of money, is it worth it? So the debt is to expire 2023. And if we do nothing and pay that debt out, until 2023, the total payment's like $2 million and change, right? Refinancing this, and it's the reason it's more than $1,530,000 is because you have $30,000 it costs to do it, and then you have to put a deposit down. Like when we do normal funding, we put a deposit down. So our total amount borrowing is 1.6, but the interest rate reduction is such that the net saving after all expenses is $52,520. That's the total interest savings to the borough over the next 5 years. So it is cost effective to do it. Now what we're doing is adopting the ordinance, and then we'll do a resolution to authorize CFO to go out to bid on this. Now, if the bids come back higher than 2%, because right now we're at like 4%, everything's based on 2%, the savings. So if the bids come back higher than 2, to a point where it's not cost effective, then everything just stops. We don't refinance, we don't spend the money, the $30,000 is not spent to bond counsel. If it comes back less than 2%, then we can actually see a greater savings. So, Ray understands it now?
And even the 30,000 is,
And even the 30,000 is an estimate to cost to do it, which they said that's probably high, but we'll make sure we have enough funding in place. So net, when it's all done and sold, we're gonna save minimum 52,000. Hopefully greater than that. If not, if it doesn't work out, then we don't do it. So, good, all right? And that's just what's callable in the next 5 years. There's other debt that's longer term that just wasn't cost effective yet to look at that. The notes, that is. We have a lot of notes that the theory is if we get a revenue source in town, like the Tilcon situation, it brings in revenue, the goal is to pay down that debt before we even got to consider refinancing it, and then ultimately borrow less in the long run and all that stuff. So, all right, so there was a motion. Any other comment? Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmembers Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Del Ripa.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
yes.
And Ray, do you have that? I gave you my package when we walked out, because the resolution was in there. That was Jane's copy. I just want to reference that for the next item. And Jane, this is what, 23?
Fred,
Yes.
are we going back to bills or no?
Thank you,
Are
Ray.
we going back to bills or no? Well, we should. No, I mean, I don't have anything, but
No, that was not, yeah, that was the bond ordinance.
The one that says 22 now? That's not-
No, that's the one we did for the skating rink.
Here, 3 minutes.
Thanks, Bree. Then the next item we tabled, because it was related to this, is Resolution 1123, Resolution of Borough of Bloomingdale, County of Passaic, authorizing certain activities necessary to connection of the sale and issuance of the 1.615 aggregate principal sale. So this resolution is authorizing the process to continue by the CFO. Who makes that motion?
so moved.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers D'Amato. Del Ripa.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
All right, thanks. I apologize for the confusion on that. And now I'd entertain a motion for late executive session with 2 matters. One is staffing and one is regarding attorney-client privilege.
Mayor, can we just go back on the bills list as we were doing certain motions?
Yes.
We didn't take an actual roll call.
Oh, did we do that?
Yeah.
We did all of them.
We did it all in favor.
So because it's not on the consent agenda, if anybody has any questions.
That's fine. So we had a motion by whom? Do you recall? We'll let the record reflect who made the motion. So we're going to go back and do a roll call on the bills list, because that we did do it all in favor. You could just the minutes reflect that. So a roll call on the bills. Yes.
Councilmembers Del Ripa.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
All right, thank you. So at 8:41, we'll go into executive session.
Wait,
2 matters.
Fred,
Personnel.
on the consent agenda, there was that 2% raise for all department heads.
Yes.
Should I be recused from that?
For 2017, no.
I think it's better if you do.
Okay, so just let the record show that we're recusing just from that portion of the agreement.
That's fine, but it's for 17, so no
Yes.
reflection built up. Okay, so we'll try that again. At now 8:42, we're going to executive session, two matters, client privilege and staffing. Who makes the motion?
I did.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Okay, we resume at 9:22 to public session. First order of business. Sorry.
Chief Ray, if I'm recusing, can I, when do I do that?
Just abstain. When it gets to you, say abstain.
Abstain. See, the difference is accused and true. You're not eligible to participate. Abstain is you're eligible, but you're not going to take part.
All right, first order of business, I need a motion to, for the hiring of Michael Yazdi as assistant to the CFO, starting salary $55,000, effective 12/15. Who makes that motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
And a resolution.
It's 24.
Council members Hudson,
Yes.
Sandemeyer,
Yes.
Costa,
Abstain.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Della Ripa.
Yes.
The next item, I need a motion to introduce by title, amending the salary ordinance to establish the position of assistant to CFO with a salary range of $55,000 to $65,000. Ordinance number,
23, 2016.
and the second and final reading is 12/19.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Council members Sandemeyer,
Yes.
John.
Costa,
Abstain.
Answer a question on Facebook later.
D'Amato,
Yes.
Della Ripa.
To the borough,
Hudson.
yeah.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a very, very happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your families. Thanks for everything.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thanks for all of you. Motion to adjourn.
John, what did you
All in
say?
favor?
7:45?